Hi everyone, welcome to our session, our meeting today. So I'm here, my name is Katrin, and I don't know if you've seen my channel, Authentic Life by Katrin. And I'm here with my mentor, Dave Armstrong, and today we want to, hi Dave. So today we want to discuss anger and the reason why we thought we agreed to do this is because there is so much anger around us, and we experience it on an everyday basis, but people, our close friends, relatives, and even ourselves can have anger resonate, like deep down inside, resonating within us, and we don't know how to deal with that. And we could be on the receiving end of anger as well, and we don't know how to approach the person that is in our lives, and how do we help them, and how do we help ourselves in order to help them. So I had a few questions. I asked Dave if he can help out here. Dave, I don't know, do you want to say a few words about you and your background and how you
Well, I think everybody knows who I am.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
That's why
Not
you're
even
my
close.
mentor. I wouldn't go with
Not
someone
even close. So, hey, I'm Dave Armstrong, everybody. I have a YouTube channel with a really good friend of mine, Ryan Mitzianis, and the channel's name is Unlimited Potential Network. And Katrin came to me about a month and a half ago and said, hey, I want to learn more about this whole life coaching thing, and that's what we do at Unlimited Potential Network, is life coaching. And Katrin is my first coachee that is a coach, and she helped me figure it out that this is the direction that I want to take the company, is to start coaching other people that have the desire and the passion to help other people and coach other people. So Katrin asked me, hey, let's do a video and talk about anger. And I grew up in a very violent neighborhood, violent atmosphere in Los Angeles and in California. And my mom died when I was 12. My first arrest was for robbing somebody at gunpoint when I was 9 years old. And I have a video with me showing the arrest record, the report, and everything from the courts. So I know a little bit about anger, to the point where now I'm retired in Greece, and I've done a lot of successful things, like 24 years in the Air Force and managing mentoring programs for at-risk youth, being the vice president of the board of directors for a nonprofit, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of stuff that I've been able to do. And the reason I've been able to do it, how this ties into anger, is because I was able to understand that I was an angry person, and understand that that's not socially acceptable behavior, and understand that I needed a way to fix it. I needed to fix my anger problem. So that's what we're going to kind of talk about, is that path to being fixed, to controlling your anger. Sorry for taking so much time, Katrin.
No, this is an interactive, so don't worry. I appreciate that. So you said you realized that you were feeling you were angry, and you had anger issues, and you had to fix that. When did you realize it? I mean, how do you realize? Because the main turning point, I guess, for people to change themselves is to realize they've had enough, or I need to change it. So once you make that acceptance within yourself. So I want to know how it happened for you.
That's kind of a loaded question, because it wasn't one day I woke up and I said, you know what, I have anger management issues and I need to fix them. But it was a path that I can remember when it started. I've shared this in some of my other videos. I was in a martial arts program at one of the boys' homes that I was in. And my first martial arts instructor, who was like a father to me, unfortunately he passed away some years ago, Otto Johnson, he was a psychologist at this group home that I was at, this boys' home that I was at. And I was, like I said, a bad kid. I was about 12, 13, I was about 14 years old when this happened. And one day I said, I'm leaving, I'm going to go out. And Otto said, no, you can't leave. It's nighttime and it's past the time that you can go out, the restrictions that we have at the boys' home. And I said, fuck you, man. I'm going to go no matter what. And he was like, no, you're not. And I knew the system, even though the guy, he was 6'10", 300 something pounds, expert martial artist. He competed all over the world. And I knew this about him. I didn't really care because I was pretty manipulative and pretty smart. So I knew that staff couldn't touch you. Like, they can't restrain you from leaving the house. But what Sensei Otto did was stand in front of the door. And for some reason that day, I decided to touch him. And I don't know why I tried to push him to move him out the way. I wasn't going to budge this guy, not even a centimeter. But I tried to push him out the way of the door. And he grabbed me by my neck.
Wow.
I passed out. I remember passing out. And I woke up in my bedroom. And I was pissed. I was like, my homies are going to get you. We're going to shoot you up. Da, 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 da. But I was also intrigued because this guy, he knew what he was doing. He could grab me and control me, right? I was like, wow, what is this karate stuff? I don't know what this stuff is, but he's kind of bad, so I was a little intrigued, but I knew that I couldn't have these anger outbursts with Sensei Otto, right? With Otto Johnson. And I started doing this martial arts thing with him because I wanted to learn how to fight. I wanted to learn how to beat people up. And I was already a fighter. I was already, right. I fought so much that I got good at it, I guess. And I was a pretty big guy. But I wanted to learn more how to beat people up. And I started this martial arts thing with Sensei Otto. And boy, karate has discipline. That's the foundation of martial arts. That's the foundation of karate. Discipline, discipline, discipline. So you can't be disciplined if you're angry. Those are counterintuitive. Those are opposites of each other. So I first learned how to start managing myself, my emotions, my being through martial arts when I was about 14. Now, I'll tell you, even throughout my teenage years till I got into the Air Force, right? I still had anger issues. No one sat me down and taught me this is how you manage your emotions. This is what's unacceptable. Through karate, I understood in the dojo, if somebody hit me or if I got hit, I couldn't have an outburst. I couldn't lose control. But that was in that environment. In other environments, like my marriage, where it was abusive, like my social environment, I didn't realize that I couldn't have these anger outbursts and lose control and be violent or punch walls or do whatever. I had the discipline in the school, but I didn't have discipline in other areas of my life. And this goes to a lot of people. A lot of people can go to work, right, and still go home and beat their wives, right? Or still go home and be abusive, and still have these temper tantrums and anger outbursts. We can live dual lives very easily. This is not difficult, and we see it all the time.
Right. That's why I said we have it all around us. So you mentioned that was incredible. You said one thing that really, really stuck with me. You cannot have discipline when you're angry.
No.
I want you to dig deeper in that. That's so interesting. It just really stuck. How does that work? It also reminds me, I think I will link this because I'm a movie buff, and I know that many people laugh at this scene and they remember it in Karate Kid, where he goes wax on, wax off. Says, I wanted you to teach me karate. That's not what you're doing. He goes, no, I am teaching you karate. I think it comes back to what you're saying. I want you to elaborate, please. how can you not have anger while you're being disciplined?
Well, think about the word discipline. Discipline means control, right? Discipline means I am in control and I understand what I'm doing, and I have this box that I operate in, right? And I can come out the box when I want to, but that is a disciplined, calculated move. So discipline means that we have agency and control over what we're doing. Anger is the antithesis of that, is the opposite of that. It's I've lost control. Literally, when you're angry and you outburst, you display your anger in negative ways, right? Because we all get angry.
Right.
The problem is how you display that anger. So when we display our anger in negative ways or socially unacceptable ways, right? That is lack of discipline. You didn't control your anger, and you let it, because nobody wants to be angry. Nobody. I don't think I know many people. Maybe Hitler enjoyed it. I don't know. But I don't know many people in my life that I've encountered that enjoys losing control, being undisciplined or angry.
Right. So you mentioned also that even though you were doing karate, even though you realized that in that environment you could control your emotions, you mentioned that in your marriage you couldn't. Why is that? Why is there that difference?
So look, a lot of times when people have anger issues, right, a lack of discipline in their anger or the emotions, they learn how to deal with certain triggers, and that they don't learn how to deal with other triggers. And so I learned how to deal with triggers in the martial arts school, in the studio, right? If somebody punches me, if somebody kicks me too hard, I lose a competition, whatever. There's very strict, like, you will not act this way. And I've lost competitions and through something, and Sensei Otto says, if you ever do that again, you and I are going to be sparring for an hour. Oh, I don't want to spar with Sensei Otto, so okay. And I understood that was socially unacceptable in that environment, right? But nobody taught me that at home I couldn't lose control when I was triggered and end up slapping my wife or punching a wall or getting into, like, me and my ex grew up in the same environment. So we were both physical. We were both broken. We were both not taught proper ways to handle our emotions. And so we would physically fight, like, and I'm a big guy. I've always been 200 and something pounds and 6 foot, and most women aren't this big, and she certainly wasn't. And it was absolutely wrong for me to ever grab my wife. But I didn't know that. I mean, you know it, but you don't know it because you grow up in that environment. You see it. I saw this when I grew up. My mom was constantly abused by my stepfather. I was constantly abused by my stepfather. I shot my stepfather because he was abusing my mom. So it was something that it's not innate, it's a learned skill, right? It's learned to be abusive or to lose control and have physical violent outbursts.
Wow, that's impressive to understand how you overcame that, how you realized it, and how that's, how someone can go through that and have that experience. So you were mainly physical. So your anger came out in the physical form, because someone could be sarcastic, or they can be emotionally abusive, and that can be anger. But for you, I guess it was more physical.
I was emotionally abusive also in my relationship. I'll definitely say that. Like I was manipulative, and so that could be a form of anger display if you try to consistently manipulate people because you don't enjoy the environment, or you're triggered for some reason, instead of just having a adult conversation with someone going, hey, look, I don't like it when you ... Let's figure out how we can not have to deal with this every week, every day, every whatever. So that's constructive, but you can be sarcastic or emotionally abusive or manipulative by, for example, I'll hide if I don't like the way my wife makes coffee, and I go and I hide the coffee pot every day. Well,
oh, you would do that?
no, I wouldn't do that. Not that. I'm just thinking of a
Is
random
it,
example
okay,
because I have coffee and I wanted a sip. Mm.
good, yes, we do. Let's
So,
enjoy.
no, but you think about that, if you go, well, that is a form of anger display when you can't talk about how you're feeling and be constructive about it. But I didn't learn. See, we forget that all you are, a person, is a sum of your past experiences coupled with who you are today. And so if you've never been taught what anger looks like and how you display anger, then you just kind of randomly like do it. Or if you've been taught the opposite, I was taught, in many people, you know, if statistically, if you come from an abusive family, you're going to be either abused or be the abuser. Statistically, that's just true. And so that's learned behavior. It's not innate. We weren't born to like punch walls and be sarcastic or have these anger outbursts and hurt people. That's not what we were born to do, but we learn it very easily, you know?
Right. How did you, when you started, because you said you went to karate and then you realized that you still had anger management issues even when you entered the Air Force, if I'm correct?
Yeah. I was
So you
already
started,
in the Air Force.
so you were already in the Air Force when you started anger management.
Yep.
So
I was ordered to do anger management classes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So
tell us
I
a little bit about how was your experience?
I had to do anger management classes for the Air Force told me, hey, you need to go see a psychologist about your anger issues. And the court, because one day the cops came to the house after me and my ex got into it, you know, and I mean, I wasn't beat. I could never beat somebody up. It wasn't like I was beating the hell out of somebody or
How old were you back then? How old were you?
I got married. That's a good question. I got married when I was 19. So between 19 and I'll say 23 or so, 24, I was still overcoming that. You know, I was still trying to figure out how to display my frustration, my anger, my buildup properly. And so anger management classes helped. They help unprogram, right, what's programmed. They try to deprogram this like trigger outburst, right? Instead, it's trigger, breathe.
Oh.
You know what? Let's talk about this real quick. Instead of letting your emotion, because all it is not figuring out that there's a middle ground here. There's something in between trigger and outburst, and that's to breathe and understand that something has upset you. Being upset is okay. Everyone gets upset. Okay, how do I want to react? Do I want to deal with this? Do I want now I have choices. When I'm not emotional, right? When I don't get emotional, now I have choices. Now I go, okay, I'm going to ignore it. Somebody cuts you off on the highway.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to ignore it. You know? But there's times where somebody cuts you off or does something stupid. I remember here in Greece, where I turn out from my house is kind of a big street. Yeah, Greece and driving, forget it. It's kind of a major, not a major street, but it's a major street, and people go pretty fast. Well, where I was turning out, I was making a right, and someone was coming behind another car, right, going the opposite direction that I was trying to turn, right, passing by the street that I was. Well, this guy decided to overcome, right, so pass the guy that was in front of them, because they were going too slow. I mean, they were going way too fast is what they were doing. But there's a solid white line there, and and there's a reason for that. The reason is if you overpass somebody when they're turning out, you're going to kill them.
Right.
It's a head-on collision. And so this guy did that, and literally me and boss were in the car, and just right next. I mean, if I would have been a split second faster at turning, I would have been jacked up 100%. So I'm going to turn back around and tell him something.
Right.
And so that's what I did. And it wasn't because I was angry. It was because this idiot can kill someone.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I don't need to react. But
whereas in the past, what would have been your reaction?
Oh, I would have drug him out. I would have chased him and drug him out the car. I've chased people to their house.
Wow.
I've been cut off on the highway. I remember, I don't know what was, I was just an angry person, but I remember I was in the Air Force at the time too. I was in Washington State, my first duty station, and somebody cut me off on the highway and then had the nerve to give me the finger when I honked the horn. And I chased her all the way to her, I followed her all the way to her house. And then her husband, she called her husband, you know, her husband came out, and and so here we are fighting at somebody's house. And then I look back, now that I'm a different person, right? Now that I understand how to control these things, how to control myself and not react that way. I look back and I go, for what? For a finger?
Yeah.
All that, the waste of gas, the waste of time, the waste of energy, the emotional energy, and the probability of something bad happening, right? Is it worth a finger or somebody cutting you? I mean, really, that's what you think. That's what you got to think about is it worth it? Like, is my reaction worth it?
So,
and 9 times out of 10, no.
Wow, incredible. But when you're in that constant emotional state, you don't think those things, you just go with what you feel. So that's what you did at the time, you followed her.
Yeah.
So the idea here is to stop and just to breathe and to see if, you know, what can you do? You have a choice in how you want to react. What
Absolutely.
would you say to people, to individuals who are feeling angry, who are just angry, haven't, you know, is there anything we can leave them with, you know, this is what you can do?
Well,
just what you already said, to take a deep breath and to.
Well, yeah, much more than that. So I'll say a couple of things. So I'm studying psychology, and I have an undergrad in psychology. So from a therapist perspective, you probably should get some assistance. You probably should seek some help, and that could be anyone. That doesn't have to be a licensed therapist. That can be a life coach. That could be a friend. That could be a mentor. That could be a pastor. That could be anyone that knows what they're doing, right? That doesn't have the issues that you have. Anyone. So you don't have to go pay $100 to a therapist or $100 to a life coach, you know, per hour or something like that. Although,
but your point is, just don't try and do it on your own. Don't try and figure it.
No, yeah. So, you got to understand that if you have anger issues, there's a reason for it, and the leading cause of mismanagement of anger is depression. And so, if you are depressed, most likely you're going to have mismanagement of anger, and you have to fix the depression, not the anger, first, right? And the anger may go away once you fix the depression.
Right. What's the source of your anger? You need to look deeper. What is causing it?
So for example, if you grew up like I did, right, watching your mom get beat by your stepdad, right? Most likely you're going to be doing the same thing to your wife or your girlfriend. So you got to understand from a clinical standpoint why you're doing that. You know, why are you choosing to hit your spouse?
Right.
It's not that you want to. Most people don't want to inflict harm on other people. Most people are innately good. It's just
Right.
we have learned behavior that we have to figure out how to overcome. And sometimes people don't understand where that learned behavior really comes from. You know, they don't see the direct correlation, that line. And so identifying the correlation, identifying the line, understanding the why. Why am I angry? Why do I
Right.
have these outbursts? Why does something trigger me? Why does it, you know, why does, and then you can start working on habits, right? And that's when you can seek a life coach, right? Go to Katrin, come to me. Because that's when,
Or to whoever you trust to go to, whoever you trust.
yeah, absolutely. Anyone. Because a therapist can help you identify the cause, the root cause. But once you identify the root cause, now you just need some skills, right? Now you just need some goals. Now you just need to understand how you can change yourself, because
Right.
it's not going to come overnight.
No.
You've been doing something, probably you've either been learning it for a decade or two, and you've been doing it for a decade, you know? So you can't
Oh yeah,
you know,
I remember myself. Go ahead. I will
no,
add later.
so you're not, it's not going to be overnight that all of a sudden, like, I figured out that you know, I saw my mom get beat by my dad and now I'm okay. No, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen like that. It's going to take effort.
Definitely. So your anger, you were angry at, what would be your anger, your source of anger? Yes, you saw that happening. Were you like angry at life, angry at your father, angry at your mother for not having, what was your angry, what were you angry at? Like, were you
I'm
blaming them? Because anger is also a blame game. You know, I'm angry. Like, I was angry at my parents. They divorced, and I was angry because I was lacking certain emotions, and I was angry at them, not realizing that I can learn those on my own, and how to love, how to embrace love. And I was angry at them. I was directing the anger at them. So what would you say was your source of anger? Like, I'm angry at my father for leaving, you know, my mother for having married again and with an abusive man. What was your anger? What was the source of your anger? Where was it coming from, would you say?
So I'll say two things. One is sometimes that doesn't matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's unidentifiable.
Right.
Sometimes for people, it may be easily identifiable. For me, absolutely not, because I was a wreck. My life was a wreck. So in my book, I say something, and a lot of people have said, "Wow," about this. Um, it If you have nothing, right? If a person has nothing, why would someone think that they care anything about you or your life? In the means of, I could beat you or take your life. I don't care.
Right. It's like, I don't have any use.
I have nothing.
Right.
You know, what was there for me? I was 12 years old. My mom died. I was in a boys' camp. I had no family. I had nothing. Of course, I had anger outbursts because I didn't care about anyone. I didn't care about anything, anyone. And so my aspirations when I was a kid was to be a hitman. Like, I was going to grow up and be a hitman. And no joke, like, not this, like, oh, I saw a hitman on TV. No, I just wanted to go and just make a bunch of money and kill people. I was okay with that because I didn't care about your life. Like, why would I care? How can I care about you if I don't care about me?
Right.
That's impossible. Impossible. So, you know, the source, the reason, sometimes it's just everything. or nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's like some people are so broken, or their lives are so jacked up, or they're so depressed that the source is just there. It's just everything. And
Right.
so understanding that, right, this is, what I was talking about, like a professional can help you identify that. I hope you go, well, let's figure out what we can make you live for. If you
Right.
if you don't care about anything at all in life, right? Obviously, you can't care about your neighbor if you don't care about yourself, and you feel totally just in a black hole in your own life. Let's get out that black hole. Let's
Right.
find some things that you can care about. Let's think, if you're, how can I go to a homeless guy living on the street and start a conversation about anger management?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's homeless, living on the street in cold, hot, da 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 da. Well, he doesn't even know where his next meal is going to come from.
Yeah, and also at that point, it's the main what is that, the human need, the basic human needs. You overlook everything else. You want to eat, that's it, it's survival, finished. So we don't go deeper in that.
That's a good point. That's a great point, Katrin. I had never really given that thought. It's great that you said that. But maybe it's when your basic needs aren't being met, it's pretty difficult to start identifying other stuff, like the root cause of your anger. When you're starving and homeless and don't have a roof over your head, and being threatened, if your life is at risk every day, it's pretty, anger management is pretty low on the list of things for the day.
Yeah, true. It is true. Wow. And one question that comes out of this as well with what you're saying, and I'm very, very intrigued with all this, to be honest, is when we're angry, when people are angry, obviously we each have our own anger issue. The person that we also choose as our partner, because we feel we feel like, I don't know, this would be a question like, what was it that made, like, why did you get married at the age of 19? Is it because when we are in turmoil, I realize that we have a partner, and somehow that helps us float in life? When I reach out to someone and they understand me, the pain of that. So you said when your wife had the same upbringing, so you understood each other's pain. That wasn't healthy looking at it in hindsight. But what happens, I think, is when we're in pain, we also choose a person in our lives that might be going through the same thing, and that just gets expanded.
Interesting. I've never thought about that. That's a great thought and great point. I've never considered that, never thought about that. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Maybe.
Yeah.
It's a maybe. Yeah. I was pressured into getting married. The truth is, I was pressured by her aunt for religious reasons to get married, because actually, so I was in the States. If you're in a boys' home or boys' camp, once you turn 18 or you graduate high school, you're homeless.
That in itself is, that's a different conversation to have. It's like, how do you start from zero to?
It's well, geez. So I had to go live with her. My point is, I had to go live with her. We were dating at the time, and I asked her parents if I could stay with them until I got into the Air Force. And I knew I wanted to get in the Air Force. I was trying to straighten myself out, my life out. I knew that I had to get out the environment that I was in. I knew all these things. I took the ASVAB, which is an Armed Service Vocational Battery Test. So it's the test you have to take in order to get into the military, right?
Okay.
And there's different scoring requirements for each branch of the military. And the Air Force has the highest requirements. And I didn't score high enough to get in the Air Force. And I had to wait 6 months to retest. So I was literally homeless for about 9, 10 months. So I graduated high school and they were like, see ya. And so I had to stay somewhere. I stayed with her. Her aunt was extremely religious. Her parents were pretty religious also. And there was a lot of pressure to get married. And I remember her aunt coming to me one day and saying, I had a dream. God sent me a dream. And
Oh, okay.
in this dream, you guys were not okay. You guys are not going to be okay if you don't get married because you're living in sin. Right after that, not that I believed that, but right after that, we got into a pretty bad car accident and I wrecked my car. Some guy ran a red light and totaled my car. And luckily we were okay, kind of banged up. So I was kind of scared into getting married.
Oh.
Not that I regret it. I was married for 12 years, and look, everything that, again, your some of your past experiences coupled with who you are today. So everything that I've done has led me to the point that I am at now, and that's a pretty awesome point. I'm complete and happy, and I've been able to do a lot of stuff throughout my life, and I don't exaggerate. Like I'm pretty complete. Like I'm pretty like.
Excellent.
So I don't regret it, but what your point was pretty insightful, because a lot of times I think people end up getting into relationships that.
Unfortunately or fortunately, as you say, we need to go through certain experiences to grow. From my experience, even my marriage was because I was angry, because I didn't know how to love myself. I just found someone that was willing to protect me in the sense that to allow me to just be. And so I just stayed there, like a little. So, but we won't grow. It's okay. We won't. I can't go back and say, no, you should not have done that, Katrin. I know it now, or it wasn't the right decision, but then again, I also say it was the right decision, because if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't learned from there, I wouldn't be able to grow. So we can't, basically my point is for people listening, do not judge yourself, because many times we judge ourselves for what the decisions that we've made, or you can judge yourself and say, I was a bad person, I shouldn't have beaten my wife up, and you could have stayed in that forever. I shouldn't have beaten my wife up, I was a bad person, and all that turmoil. And my point is, don't judge yourself. It is through experience that we learn and we grow. It's just that when we come to the awareness of that, and understanding and forgiving ourselves, we can move forward. So, even though you might be angry right now, you have a choice. You can make a choice. And correct me if I'm wrong, you have a choice to change your life.
Absolutely. It's sometimes it seems like you don't. Sometimes you're in that tornado, you're in that black hole, and it seems like there's no option, there's no alternative. I can't. I gotta just do day in and day out, and this is just the way I am. I told myself that for years. I'm just like that. Look, I'm angry. I have reason, which is BS. That's not true. Like you are nothing that you don't want to be. Like you can change at any given point in your life. You can learn at any given point in your life. You can do anything. It's just a matter of doing it. It's difficult, yes. It's challenging, yes. It takes effort, yes. It might take money and time and everything else, and that's what like demotivates people, unmotivates people, is when they go, oh wow, I got to do all of that.
Yeah. It's like Will Smith. I don't know if you've heard Will Smith saying, like, he's like, you got to put 99% of your action into doing to make your dreams come true. It's like that. He goes like the Navy. Is it the Navy SEALs that say everyone wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die? How can you go?
Yeah.
So how can you change yourself and become a happier person and embrace life if you're not willing to do the work?
Yeah, that's just the truth. It's not. Look, we don't. I have a video on this. You had no agency over where you were born, in what country, what color, what family, how
Right.
wealthy, how poor. You had no choice over it. It just happened to you. So the dice was rolled, and I mean, these are the cards you were given. This is the number of dice that you were rolled. If it's snake eyes, you know, guess what? That just means that you got to try harder, because your destiny is failure, right? Your destiny, what you were born to be, right,
Right.
is failure. That's just it. But it just means that you got to put forth that much effort, that much more effort into becoming the person that you want to be, into doing what you want to do in your life. It's just going to be harder than it is for Donald Trump that was born into millions. Okay, so what?
Right.
Does it matter? Does it matter how hard it is? Not really. I mean, you really have two choices: to do or not to do. The end. And if you choose to do,
Well said.
thank
It took me a long time to get to what you're saying, actually.
Oh,
You know,
really?
to understand that I have a choice in my life. Yes. So for people that are in a place where they're thinking, what's he talking about? Yeah, it's a process in itself to come to the realization that I do have a choice.
Yeah, it's just we choose. Look, we as people, human nature likes complacency and comfortability,
Yeah.
right? We like to be comfortable, and so when we wake up and we go, my goal today is these 10 things, and I'm going to do them. And then when we get to number 5, we go, I'm tired. I need a nap. Or when we get to number 5, we go, I got to go outside and do the yard. It's so hot out there. And then we give up. That's a choice. I just choose not to do that. I choose to say, I got to work on my anger. I got to hire somebody. I got to go to a counselor. I got to fix this. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I'm certainly not falling into my destiny. Because
Right.
I was born into this. That's okay. It is what it is. But you can change it.
Impressive. One last question for you, Dave.
Okay.
I mean, for people that are living with someone who's angry on the receiving end, how would they be? I guess, I don't know. I mean, this is something that I wanted to ask you. How would they be able to, because to be with someone who's angry like that, and of course they can't have conversations. So, you know, you can't have a conversation with someone because they're angry, they have outbursts. What would you think that would be a good advice to give them, or for them to think about?
Boy.
For them to seek out probably help as well, in order to be able to see how they can help themselves, you know, before they can help the other person, because that person who's angry, I don't think wants help at that time.
I don't know. You know, Katrin, that's a hard question to answer. And so I had a program in Colorado Springs, helping women that were battered. It was through an agency called Tessa, and they had various programs for women that were in abusive, physically and mentally abusive relationships with guys. And I would teach them women's self-defense. And I would often see the women that come in for free self-defense lessons, maybe with a black eye or some bruises on their arms or something. And then the bruises go away after a couple of weeks, a month, and then they're training, and then they start opening up to me, and they say, yeah, you know, this guy that I'm with, he's abusive. I know, da da da. And then they go, well, yeah, but I left him, or I'm leaving him. And then give another month or 2 weeks go by, and they have another black eye or some more bruises. I say all that to say they stay in the relationships.
Right.
And I understand why. A lot of times it's not even leaving is not is not a huge option because they don't have other resources, right? You know, maybe the guy's the breadwinner, and maybe they're staying for kids. There's a plethora of reasons why women end up staying. And I'm focusing on women. I know men get abused sometimes, but statistically, women get abused far more than men do. So, especially physically. So women stay in relationships for various reasons. What I could say to anyone in an abusive relationship, or has a friend that you know doesn't have good control over his or her anger, any situation regarding anger, and you're not the person, right, is to try when the person's calm to talk to the person about the mismanagement of his or her anger. And sometimes just talking and saying, hey, look, like, you know, punching holes in the wall every time you're pissed off, or, you know, throwing your video game controller across the room at the flat screen TV every time you die in the game, or whatever, because there's a range of this, you know, Katrin. It goes from, I've seen kids do that, you know, I've seen people get angry over little things, you know, a video game, literally, all the way to, you know, hitting someone or killing someone. So you know, if a guy walks in and his wife is cheating on him with his best friend, and he walks into the room and he sees them and decides to shoot both of them, that's the same choice as a kid that's 16 playing a video game, dies in the video game, throws the controller at the screen. That's the same thing. It's just the ramifications are different, right? The results are different, but it's the same thing. It's you didn't control yourself. It was mismanagement of your anger. So to parents out there, to spouses out there, to friends out there, having a conversation could be the opener.
Right.
Again, no matter what, professional help is probably a good idea. Professional help is probably needed. Okay, so a good therapist could work wonders with helping a person overcome some of these things. But the key is to try to have a calm conversation with them about it, and trying to encourage them to seek professional help.
Wow, incredible. Intriguing. Yeah, there's a lot to anger. I think we can all continue this conversation for many, many hours, but we're going to confuse our viewers. So I think it's best we leave it at that. And then, you know, they can come back with their comments and see, you know, if there's anything further they want us to dig in deeper. I don't know if there's anything.
Absolutely.
You want to. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm an open book. So if anyone's watching this and they want to know more about myself, I don't mind sharing. If they want to ask some questions, put in the comments on YouTube here, or on Facebook or Instagram, wherever you see the video, put in the comments, and Katrin and I will definitely answer. I will answer anything, no matter what. And I'm not sure about Katrin, but
Same here. Same here. And I just wanted to add why we decided to, like you said, we came together with this, is because there is a calling in my heart to understand how can we help individuals such as yourself that started with nothing to get to a place where we can accomplish many things. And that process is very intriguing for me. And so that's why we decided to do this. And I'm glad we did.
Me too. I think, I think this is going to help a lot of people. I really do.
Hopefully. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, my pleasure, Katrin. All right. We'll talk later.
Okay.
Thank you for doing this.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye.